Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Guru Sakshat Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. We have, last time we saw the overview of the 7th chapter, and today we will see the overview of the 8th chapter. And here it is told, in the last chapter we saw, towards the end, the Lord said, taking refuge in me, those who strive from freedom from old age and death, they come to know Brahman, the Supreme Self, the inner self, and all actions too. So suddenly the Lord started talking about something else than till now the themes that he had talked about. And in that, just like, when he says here the word that he introduced was Brahman. Till now he had not talked about it. Then he talked about the inner self, in the sense the Adhyatman, and the terminology is different. And we see that in our Hindi I am talking, that in our material sciences, when we study the subject, there, for every, in accountancy there is a certain terminology, in biology there is a certain terminology, in computer language there is a certain terminology, and you have to learn those terminologies in order to be familiar with the subject matter, isn't it? And only when your intellect appreciates and comes to understands, then the meaning of those words, the concept that is being presented to the intellect of the student in a university, for example, it starts gelling in. See, this much we can understand. Exactly the same way, when we come to the spiritual journey, in the spiritual study of the scriptures, it has its own terminology. And that terminology is now suddenly here Adhibhoota, Adhiyajna, Adhidaiva, and Brahman, and Karma. And all these 7 are introduced, and Avyakta is introduced by the Lord, and Arjuna suddenly says, hey, wait, before you go ahead, what is this that you are bringing? Because remember, 7th chapter was about the introduction of knowledge, isn't it? And he's saying, I am that. So Arjuna is a bit confused. He's like anyone. When I was a science student, when I went into university, I studied accountancy, straight from science to accountancy. It was a big shift. What to do then? What to do? Miss the classes, go for a movie. It's easy to understand. The 50 paise which used to get for the bus ticket, we didn't buy the bus ticket, kept collecting for 1 week, and went to the movie every week. Or get crashed in the crowd, somehow get in. See? Why? Because that terminology that was being used, I was not familiar with. Whereas other students, they had done the commerce in year 11 and 12, they are very well used to that terminology. I had to start from scratch. In Vedanta, in the spiritual realm, here in the scriptures, when the terminology is introduced, in material sciences, terminology is introduced so that a concept can be formed in your mind. In Vedanta, terminology is used so that your concepts are taken away from your intellect. You cannot form a concept of Brahman. You cannot form a concept of the one who is expressing from within you. You cannot form a concept. You cannot form a concept of consciousness. You are using the idea of consciousness, you are using that word, you are communicating that word, but you cannot understand that word. You have to be that. In all other sciences, you can understand it. You can conceptualize it. And this is the task of if you can imagine how Arjuna must have been. Suddenly the teacher is telling, Krishna is telling him all these terms. He is a bit baffled. And we can appreciate that. And the teacher's attempt is to make the student appreciate that formless, attributeless reality which is not other than his self, and that this reality can be known only by going beyond a matured intellect. The instructions are being given to the intellect, because only intellect is understanding right now when I am speaking also. But where is your attention? Is your attention on the thoughts that are appearing in your mind, or is your attention on the one who is attentive? Is your attention on that because of whom the thoughts are even appearing in the mind? This subtle shift in attention is to be brought about. And this attention is not an idea, it is not a concept, it is not something that you do. It is because the attention giver and the attention both are one. The eye and the vision are one, isn't it? Similarly, the attention giver is you, and the attention is also from you only. So you have to bring yourself to be that. And this is the attempt of this teacher through the scriptures to bring the student to that point. So here, in introducing the the 8th chapter, the Lord says, Kim tad brahma kim adhyatmam kim karma purushottama adhibhootam cha kim proktam adhidaivam kim uchyate adhiyajna katham kotra dehesmin madhusudana prayana kale cha katham neyosi niyatatmabhihi. The chapter, as I told you before, the Lord said something, taking refuge in me, those who strive for freedom from old age and death. Suddenly he brought this topic of old age and death. कहाँ से आ गया एकदम से? अभी तो we were just talking about the truth. Suddenly old age and death, from where have you brought? This is another important point. And that is that we have, this Lord's job through Arjuna is to educate us, to bring ourselves to such a transcendental experience where we not only realize the truth within us, but recognize that that truth is also this whole world. See? Imagine the totality of the waters, Krishna is telling the individual Arjuna, the wave, that when you realize the water within you, your vision will be that you are water, and the whole experience that you are having of other waves is also of water only. See, that point, it cannot be, you see, it sounds easy when you are saying it about water, but when we come to ourselves, oh, he is different, he is different, he is different, he is different, chair is different, so wall is different, clock is different, computer is, it's very hard to see. How can I bring myself to that point where I can see the unity in everything? See? For that, certain conditions have to be created. And that condition is created in the intellect and in the mind, so that you transcend both of them. And when you transcend, when that transcendence happens, when that appreciation of that condition, that if I create this condition, if I think like this, if I contemplate like this, if I meditate like this, then this will come about. Because it's not something that you can bring about by your own free will. All you can do is create a condition. You cannot say, I go to sleep. Sleep happens. You see? So here, when Krishna is, Arjuna immediately expresses his doubts. He says, what is that Brahman, O Krishna? What is that Adhyatma? What is karma? What is this Adhibhoota? What is this Adhidaiva? Please tell me who and in what way? Adhiyajna katham kotra dehesmin madhusudana prayana kale cha katham neyosi niyatatmabhihi. Who and in what way is Adhyatma in this body, O Madhusudana? And how does a self-controlled seeker at the time of death come to know you? How does he come to know you? See? If we have to know the truth, then if a wave has to come to know water, then it has to realize that the birth of the wave and the death of the wave are also a part of the and the expression of the same consciousness, of the same inner self. And what is the inner self of the wave? Water. So birth and death cannot be outside the water. You understand what I am saying? So when we see ourselves, we see God somewhere else, and we see our birth in this creation and death in this creation, and want to escape that. But our vision has to get transformed to, in that transcendental experience of the divine, death and birth is included as a phenomena in that in that transcendental experience. Okay. So first question was, what is Brahman, what is Adhyatma? And in this way, that whatever the teacher is trying, the Arjuna is wanting to know, that I can understand or I can come to know the reality within. But will that reality continue after death? I can sit in meditation in a transcendental experience, but when I come and open my eyes, will I still see the same reality which I have experienced? This is his doubt. This is what he wants to know. Otherwise, it's not complete. Otherwise, you are going on a wild goose chase. Inside something, outside something else. Outside duality, inside unity. That is not enough. It has to be a total, all-consuming experience, less experience. All-consuming. Nothing is left outside of it. There is nothing outside of it, but we have to bring our mind to that level of intuition. To this, the Lord starts talking. This chapter is called the Yoga of the Imperishable Brahman, the way to the Imperishable Brahman. Imperishable, that which is never destroyed, that which does not go through any loss. See? So, coming to realize that after I come out of meditation, after death, will I lose that experience? So the Lord says here that Aksharam Brahma Paramam Svabhavodhyatma Muchyate Bhuta Bhavodbhavakaro Visarga Karma Sanshnitaha. So here he answers the first three questions, I think. And he says the imperishable is the supreme Brahman. Then its presence is in its presence, the presence of that imperishable reality, the Brahman, the infinite, its presence in each person is called the Adhyatma, what we call as Atma. So electricity is present everywhere, but you don't say the current is everywhere, you say current is only in the wire, isn't it? What is that current? That current is also electricity. Then why you are not calling it electricity? Why you are calling it current? So it's an expression. You know, in the wire also the same electricity is flowing. In the bulb also the same electricity is flowing. But electricity as a principle, it is present everywhere. Isn't it? Similarly, the reality, the imperishable reality is present everywhere, but when it expresses through one form, it is called Adhyatma. That which is upholding that form, that which is enlivening that form, that which is because of which the form comes into existence, maintains its existence, and then perishes. But even this idea that, anyway, we come to that, the expression will come to later. Here the first question is Brahman. What is that Brahman? Brahman is that imperishable reality. It is consciousness playing with consciousness in consciousness. Water playing with water in water is called wave. Getting it? Mud playing with mud in mud is called a pot. Similarly, there, yes, a pot maker is required. In water, no wave maker is required. Similarly, in consciousness, consciousness playing with consciousness in consciousness is called the creation, is called the cosmos, is called the reality. That is the ultimate. Coming to recognize that consciousness which is playing with itself, where will it play itself within itself inside? No, we see it playing everywhere, isn't it? Because expression of that consciousness is this whole creation. Expression of that water is all the waves. Where are all the waves existing? On the water only, in the water only. Similarly, this consciousness which is infinite in its nature, on it all the names and forms in this cosmos are playing with each other. But are they existing apart from the consciousness? No, they are existing in the consciousness. That is not our realization at the moment. Coming to this realization is called transcending duality. See? And that is coming to this consciousness, this infinite consciousness, this infinite blissful consciousness. Another name for it is this imperishable Brahman. All the names and forms, all the objects and beings in this cosmos, they come and go. But the water does not come and go anywhere. Similarly, consciousness also does not come and go anywhere. It is the permanent principle. So, automatically, just like this infinite water expressing through a particular form is called a wave, that infinite consciousness expressing through an individual form is called Atma. Second question, what is Adhyatma? So what is this body, breath, mind, intellect? It is also expression of that same consciousness. It cannot be outside. It cannot be other than the consciousness, but it is grossified. What is ice? Nothing but grossified water, isn't it? But can you see water in ice? No, only a scientist mind can see. You can suspect, yes, it is made up of H2O. See? Adhyatma. The presence in each individual is called Adhyatma. The creative force that causes things to spring forth into existence is called karma. All action that brings about productivity in creation alone is called karma. Eating food is not karma. There are negative karma actions and positive actions, isn't it? And there are some actions which don't come into any category. Most of the actions right now, your hand is on your hand, it is movement, karma is going on. But is it achieving any purpose? No. So most of the actions are involuntary actions. Involuntary actions are not karma. Negative actions are also not karma. So what is this karma? Here he is giving a different connotation to it. He says karma is that which brings about productivity for the benefit of the cosmos or for the world. That is karma. The creative force. It is not a destructive force. Karma is not a destructive force. So now find out, what do we understand by karma in our understanding? Where are the three levels of action? Manasa, Vacha, Kaya. So at the thought level, at the speech, and at the deeds. So now find out, are your actions creative in nature at the body level? Are your actions productive at the speech level? Are your actions productive at the thought level? Are they benefiting the person who's standing in front of you? Are they benefiting you if you are talking to yourself in your mind? Huh? If they are benefiting, then it is the proper karma is going on. Then purification will happen. But if they are not, then unwanted data will be created. If that is same speech which you are talking to yourself now starts expressing a speech to someone else, if it is helpful to another person, it is good. But if it creates a friction, it creates a reaction, it creates an argument, it creates a discord, then it's not fulfilled, it's not creative anymore. I'm just giving very general. Sometimes if masters do it in many different ways, they create sometimes friction in your mind so that you come out of that. When we study the scriptures, they present the contradictory statements. With that also our mind goes, a bit of friction is there, but out of that you transcend. So what is the intention again? Intention is not to disturb someone. When I am speaking now, the intention is not to confuse. Intention is not to dictate. Intention is not to convince. Intention is not to control. Intention is to share the knowledge so that you can be a better person. That's all. So that you can be free of all the pain once and for all in life. It requires only one click. So in this way, here it says the karma is the productive actions that we bring forth in life alone can be termed as karma. And in this way, the Lord continues, Adhibhootam ksharo bhavaha purushashchadhidaivatam adhiyajnyohamevatra dehe deha bhrutam vara antakale cha mameva smaran muktva kalevaram yaprayati samadbhavam yati nastyatra sanshayah. The Lord says, continuing, that O best among the embodied. Who is this O best among the embodied? Arjuna. Among all the human beings at that time, the best person, the most integrated person the most capable person was Arjuna. That's why in the next chapter, when we do start the 10th chapter, in that he says, among the men I am Arjuna. I see. There, so same thought is being, we haven't come to that point, but here he says, O best among the embodied, the perishable equipment is Adhibhoota. What is Adhibhoota? First we saw what was Adhyatma. Adhyatma was that infinite expressing through the finite, giving life to the finite. It was Atma, was Adhyatma. What is Adhibhoota? That equipment through which this Adhyatma is expressing is Adhibhoota. Not necessarily only living beings, but also inert. So what is Adhibhoota? Just if we take it in the senses, the mind, the intellect, the breath, the body, this is Adhibhoota. Adhibhoota is what? Everything that you see, hear, touch, feel, taste. Everything is Adhibhoota. So first the Lord says that I am the Adhyatma, then he says I am also the Adhibhoota. So the one whom you access within yourself as the consciousness, that consciousness alone is expressing through all the names and forms. Everything that you see, hear, touch, feel, taste is also nothing but that infinite consciousness. You may not know it right now, but reformation, new terminologies are being introduced to the vocabulary or to the intellect of Arjuna, just like I told you, I began the chapter like that, so that this fellow is able to appreciate the idea that is being presented. You see? So Adhibhoota. And the indweller is the Adhidaiva. Who is the indweller? Indweller is the one who owns the Adhibhoota. Here they are taken Adhibhoota only to be the senses and the Panchendriyas, Pancha Karmendriyas and the Pancha Jnanendriyas. And mind, intellect and what is that? Mana Buddhi Chitta Ahankara. So who is this Adhidaiva? Adhidaiva is that person inside this Adhibhoota who takes the ownership of the Adhibhoota. Who is the husband? Husband is that fellow who takes the ownership or takes the relationship with his wife, with his children, with his in-laws, with his parents, all this, and then he takes himself to be the man, or he takes himself to be the husband because he has taken the wife to be his. He takes himself to be the son because he has taken the parents to be his. He takes himself to be the father because he has taken the children to be his. Who is Adhidaiva? The one who takes the Adhibhoota to be his. Who takes the ownership. And how do you take ownership? By identification. So, if Adhidaiva can disidentify from Adhibhoota, what will he be called? Adhyatma. Correct? So, Adhyatma is a general principle. Just like light is a general principle. Expression of electricity as light is a general principle. Light does not suffer addition of new bulbs or destruction of other bulbs. Light continues as the principle. Atma does not suffer if the body is there or not there. Then who suffers? The one who if that light expressing through that bulb says that I am a special one, I light up the altar, that light in the toilet, I'm better than that fellow. Right? it has taken the conditionings to be, it has got identified with its conditionings. So same Atma now, as if getting identified with the equipment, is called Adhidaiva, the ego, the ahankar. This reformation of this ahankar, because ahankar is also the same, Adhyatma also is the same, and Brahman is also the same. There is no difference between the three. But there is one, and that is Brahman is not attached to anything, it is one without a second. It knows that without any thoughts. Adhyatma, Atma, it is also a witness of everything. It is not getting caught up in anything. It is expressing through this body, but it is not getting caught up in any, like the light, principle of light is not getting caught up with anything. The Atma is not getting caught up with, the witness is not getting caught up in any thoughts, any emotions, any actions, nothing. But it's supporting everything. And the ego, the ahankar, it's the same I, but it takes the ownership of this equipment, that I am only this. So the Lord is telling here that, oh Arjuna, the best among men, the perishable equipment is Adhibhoota. What is perishable? That which has a beginning and an end. That is which is born in time and dies in time. That which has a conditioning. That which has which exists only under certain limitations. That is Adhibhoota. Matter cannot express infinitely. Matter can only express under certain conditions. Those conditions are required. And what is the name of the chapter? The way to the imperishable Brahman. And what is matter? Perishable. Adhibhoota is the perishable. So, if we are identified to the perishable, which is finite, how can we come to know the infinite? Some shift has to be made in our thinking, in our convictions, and that is where we are going wrong. We are not convinced sufficiently about the infinite, because our focus is only on the infinite, on the finite. Finite is perishable. By thinking about the finite, you can never come to know the infinite. Only by focusing on the infinite, you can come to know the infinite. Simple, isn't it? I cannot think about you and come to know Seema. I have to think of Seema to come to know Seema. Simple rule, eh? So how can I think of the finite world and come to know the infinite? Not possible. Simple logic. And therefore, Arjuna had asked, but what happens to that person after he dies? Does he continue to the experience of reality, of realization? So here the Lord says, Antakale cha mameva smaran muktva kalevaram ya prayati samadbhavam yati nastyatra sanshayaha. Have no doubt, O Arjuna. About what? The Lord is saying through Arjuna to us, have no doubt. What is that? And he who at the time of death meditates upon me. Who is this me? The imperishable. Who is this me? The Adhyatma. Who is essentially the imperishable. He who at the time of death meditating upon me alone goes forth leaving the body, surely he attains to my being, and there is no doubt about this. So here the Lord is giving an assurance that at the time of death, if we can bring ourselves to that point of alertness, of vigilance, of concentration, focus, that knowingly we breathe our last breath. That was the question. In the previous chapter, and how does a self-controlled seeker at the time of death come to know you? This was the question of Arjuna at the time of death. Meditation is okay, but what about majority of the people are not able to meditate? Can they? Yes, if you can bring in whatever life you have lived, but if you can bring yourself to think of the divine theme at the time of death, you can be free. And there are ways, there are people who have done it. But don't expect that you will be able to. If you have deep conviction, you will be able to, it will happen. But it's a lifetime of preparation. Naturally, the question comes, then well, it is, when will death come? I don't know. Then what do I do? Isn't it? I don't know when the death is going to come. Is it going to happen at night when I'm sleeping? Is it going to come when I wake up? Is it going to come when I'm driving? Is it going to come when I'm speaking? Is it going to come when I'm dreaming? Is it going to come when I'm sitting in front of the computer at office? When is it going to come? Nobody knows. Nobody knows.
But Swamiji, why do you have to wait till the death? You can realize that now also.
So, why don't you?
You will experience all the time, Swamiji.
Huh?
Divine theme always there, Swamiji.
Then why don't you live that as that?
Keep experiencing that all the time, Swamiji.
Divine theme is not an experience. Divine theme is not an experience. It is an experienceless experience. It is your being. I can experience you when you are speaking to me. I can see, hear, touch, feel, taste, think about you in my mind even if you are not present. But divine theme cannot be even thought about. Thinking cannot take you to the divine theme. Remembering the divine theme is not equal to being the divine theme. Being convinced of the divine theme is not equal to being the divine theme. And when you are that, open your arms. When you are that, this question will also cease to exist. Why this question is coming? Because you think death is an event in life. You think death is an event in life. According to our scriptures, death is happening every moment. It is not one event. You are taking it as one event, which will come sometime in our life. But from scriptural point of view, death is a principle. It is taking place every moment. Every moment is dying and every new moment is being born. If you can catch that and be the one who supports the whole birth and death process, which is happening every moment, then you are there. Then you are not holding on to the finite. Then birth and death become perishable experiences. And the one who is knowing it without thinking is the imperishable, or who is supporting it is the imperishable. See? So that way. Yeah. If I think about death, I am thinking about the finite. If I think about the birth, I am thinking about finite. How can realization have come about? By thinking about birth and death. By thinking about the finite, the infinite cannot be known. Cannot be known. So this is the point that is being honed in to us through Arjuna. That keep your focus on the infinite 24/7 as you are moving through in the world, moving about in the world. And how to do that? Now the technique is given. And what is that? He says, Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajantyante kalevaram tam tamevaiti kaunteya sada tad bhava bhavitaha. Here he says, remembering whatever object one leaves the body in the end, he attains to that object alone because of his constant thought of that object. So this is now they are introducing telling you the principle on which our mind functions. And this you can experiment in your life, that you think intensely of something at the time of going to sleep, you will wake up with that thought in the morning, isn't it? Right? Similarly, so your next birth, the next morning, is based upon what was your last thought. So if your last thought is Ram, you will wake up with Ram. Now think, if your last thought is I want to go to Ram, 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 and the Antakale, death comes. Where will you go? You will go to Saket. If it is Shiva, you will go to Kailash. If it is Om, where will you go? You will go to the reality. See, if you are a deep understanding that Om is the reality, it can take me to the reality. If it is on Bhur Bhuvasva Tapa Jana Maha Satyam, then you are doing Om to go gain some higher worlds, then you will go there. If you want heaven, it will take you there. But if your understanding of Om is, if I remember Om, it will take me to the infinite, because it is the expression of the infinite. So here the principle is given that whatever you think about, that becomes your reality. If a person says that world is difficult, it becomes a difficult world for him. If a person says, I can't do this, he is able to do it in spite of all the challenges. So this is the principle. Yam yam yapi smaran bhavam. Anyone who thinks about anything or anyone or any project intensely, deeply, with faith, that becomes his. He realizes that. See? This is the power of constant thought. Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mamanusmara yudhya cha mayarpitamano buddhi mame vaishyasya sanshayam. Here he says, therefore, if this is the principle, that whatever you put your thought on, that becomes your realization, that you realize in life, then therefore, tasmat sarveshu kaleshu, that under all circumstances and at all times, mam anusmara yudhya cha, on a war footing, not chalo yaar abhi kuch karne ko nahi, there is nothing to do, let me think about the Lord. Not in that attitude. On a war footing, dynamically, with full of faith, as if there is no tomorrow, it's do or die. Remember me. Remember me. On a war footing. It cannot be 99%. No. It has to be 110%. You have to lose yourself in remembering the divine theme. In that intensity, that nothing else is more important than that theme. Why? Because I want to know who I essentially am. Why? Because I am too caught up in birth and death, in reincarnation. And when death can come, I don't know. And I am not approaching the truth out of fear. No, I want to realize masters have done it, so why not me? I understand this whole scheme, then why not? What is stopping me? What is stopping me is all my intensity is going in achieving something in the world. it is not going into achieving the divine. So on a war footing, think of the divine. What we are doing on a war footing, we are thinking of the world, the wealth, the possessions, the children, the wife, the parents, the goodies in life, the travel, the pilgrimages, the satsangs. All this is good, no doubt. But as long as our attention is on that only, it will not come about. So even though the reality is abundantly present in the world, you will never be able to access it. You can never be able to be it. The only way to be it is if your mind is wholly, solely focused on the divine theme. Now naturally the next question will, but it is, if you say it is infinite, how can I think of the infinite? It is very difficult. Complaint boxes. He says in the he says Abhyasa yoga yuktena chetasa nanya-gamina paramam purusham divyam yati parthanuchintayan. The Lord says, with single-pointed intellect made steady by the practice of habitual meditation and dwelling upon the Supreme, resplendent Purusha, one goes to him. So, now the technology is being given to you. First, the goal was given, what you should be thinking about. You must understand that imperishable Brahman, that infinite, the one which is unborn, undying, it is eternal, it is infinite. It is that pure consciousness. And what is its state like? That it is inside as well as outside. How is it inside and outside? That inside it appears as Adhyatma, outside it appears as Adhibhoota, and it takes the ownership of this Adhibhoota as Adhidaiva. So really speaking, everything is it alone, just like you are one alone, but in relation to everyone else, your name changes. Same way that Brahman, here it is called light, in heater it is called heating, that same electricity. In freezer it is called freezing, isn't it? But is the electricity the same? Yes, it is the same. Depending upon the equipment, it's changing. Well, people call it in different ways. But from its point of view, it is one and the same. Electricity doesn't say, I have frozen now, I am heated now, I am light now, I am fan now, I am computer now. It doesn't say all that. It is just it. So that reality, if we have to know, we have to concentrate and focus on that reality. So here the Lord is saying that with single-pointed intellect. Intellect, why? Why not the mind? Mind is where the emotions come and go, feelings. Intellect is where convictions take place. So you have to be convinced. And how does conviction come about or become strong? When you apply faith in any idea, whatever you want to be convinced, conviction goes deeper, becomes intense. Only when you have faith in that conviction that you have so much faith that you are a man. You have so much faith and conviction that you are a husband or a wife or a seeker or whatever. Have the same faith. This is the transformation that is being indicated that we have to bring about. You know how to have faith, but now have faith in that infinite reality. Okay, mind may not understand it right now, but give it a benefit of the doubt. Allow the mind to appreciate. Only appreciation is enough. that there may be a possibility, I don't understand it right now, but what if Gita is saying it, Krishna is saying it, Upanishads are saying it, then it must be true. I can't be more intelligent than them. And let me give this a go and see. Let me apply myself intensely, single-pointedly, wholly on that divine theme. And let's see what happens. You don't know what sleep is. It's emptiness. Everyone is afraid of the unknown, yet you allow your mind to be taken up, devoured by the unknown every night, isn't it? Why you become afraid when emptiness appears on the seat of meditation? Why do you become afraid if the mind is not able to remember things in the waking state? Why do you become afraid? You start giving it connotations that I am losing my mind. You call it dementia. You call it forgetfulness. And you start thinking that you are less than other people, that you have a disease. And yet, same thing happens when you are going to sleep and no such connotations come about. True or not? See how we think detrimentally for ourselves. So here he says that keep thinking about so a person who throughout his 24 hours, 24/7, 365 days a year, whether he is in meditation or he is in waking state, continuously is remembering that infinite reality, in spite of speaking, in spite of seeing, hearing, touching, feeling, in spite of doing, in spite of carrying out his responsibilities. He doesn't have to stop anything in life. You have to keep doing everything. Arjuna also continued to fight the war, but he took it as he offered all the actions to the Lord. He remembered that it is the infinite who is expressing through him and all this is happening. He did not take any ownership of it. So you also don't take ownership of it. But if you keep thinking about the job that you are doing, if you keep thinking about the responsibilities that you are doing or you have, then you are thinking of the finite. You are not thinking of the infinite. Go one step further back. Oh, I am thinking about this, but again, I am thinking about all these things, means I am still thinking of the finite. Oh, so actually I am not these thoughts. I am the one who's knowing that these thoughts are coming and going. Immediately fall back into yourself. And this can be while I am talking, while you are listening, you know you are. Be aware of that. Now some pointers are given for meditation. How to contemplate on that imperishable Brahman. And what are they? Here in the 9th verse it is told. Kavim Puranam Manushasitaram Anoraniyan Anoraniyan Samanusmaredyah Sarvasya Dhataramachintya Rupam Aditya Varna Tamasa Parastat Prayana Kale Manasa Chalena Bhaktya Yukto Yoga Balena Chaiva Bhruvor Madhye Pranamaveshya Samyak Satam Param Purushamupaiti Divyam. So here he says that the omniscient, the ancient, the overruler, the smaller than the smallest, the sustainer of all, of inconceivable form, self-luminous like the sun and beyond darkness, he who meditates upon him thus at the time of death, full of devotion, with the mind unmoving, and also by the power of yoga, fixing his whole prana between the eyebrows, he goes to that supreme resplendent Purusha, means goes to that infinite reality. So, how many pointers are given? Kavim Puranam Anushasitaram, the omniscient. Who is omniscient? The all-knowing principle. Then the Puranam. Puranam is Pura, means most ancient. Then the overruler, Anushasitaram. Anushasitaram, the overlord of entire cosmos. Then Anoraniyan. Anoraniyan, smaller than the smallest. Anu is the smallest. Smaller than the smallest. Means it is pervading. What is the smaller than the smallest for us? An atom or a quark or whatever you may call it. He is even supporting that. Then Sarvasya Dhataram Achintya Rupam. Sarvasya Dhataram. He is the supporter of all. Achintya Rupam. He is inconceivable to our mind. You cannot form a concept of him. Then Aditya Varna. Aditya Varna, he is of the nature of as resplendent, as bright as the sun. Tamasa Parastar. He is beyond darkness, yet supporting darkness. That is how you know that you had deep sleep. Then, Prayana Kale Manasa Chalena Bhaktya Yukto Yoga Balena Chaiva. Prayana Kale, at the time of death, he who Manasa Chalena puts his mind full of Bhaktya Yukto, with full of devotion and Achalena. Manasa Achalena. Manasa is mind, Achalena. Chala is movement, Achala is no movement. So don't allow your mind to waver here and there. Now you take it as the last moment of your physical death, or you can take in your seat of meditation that one breath which is going out, that is your last breath. And in that last breath, you put all your attention, all these pointers that are there, you apply on that outgoing breath. And bring your attention, taking the support of that breath, put your attention on the consciousness, which is your nature, because of which this breath is going out. With an unmoving mind, without any distractions, without any agitations, without any frictions in the mind. Everything is okay. For this moment, let me put my everything into this moment. Unmoving, and also by the power of yoga, fixing his whole prana. Here it says, yoga balena chaiva. Yoga balena means, yoga is what? Yoga is acquiring. Yoga is desiring. Yoga is achieving. What? That you don't have. And what is that you don't have? When you are in this class, or when you look at the larger scope of life, you want realization, and you don't have that right now. You want to merge into the infinite. You don't have that right now. So instead of wanting to achieve something of this world, put all your energies in that one moment. Squeeze every energy from every cell in your body, from every breath, from every thought. Put all together into that one moment, into that divine. For example, when we are lifting something heavy, what do? Little bit sort of flex our muscles and do 1 or 2 push-ups, and then and we put everything in that moment to lift those 50 kgs, isn't it? You know how to do it, but it has to be done keeping the reality in focus. Take the name of the Lord, put everything in that one name. Forget about 108 times chanting. take that one name and put everything into it. Power of yoga, fixing his whole prana between the eyebrows. What is the whole prana? Prana doesn't mean the breath here. Prana means that life force which sustains this whole being. So you collect all the energy from everywhere and put it into that one moment, that one contact, that one contemplation. And where do you focus it? He says, Bhruvor Madhye Pranamaveshya Samyaka. Where do you put it? Put the focus in the third eye, in the middle of the two eyebrows. Bring all your energy there. Majority of the people, where do they leave the body from? This is not the point here. They leave the body through the anus. They leave the last breath leaves through the anus for majority of the people. For some people it will leave, the last breath goes via the genital organ. For some people it goes through the mouth. For some people it goes through the nose. For some people it goes through the eyes. Very rare are the people who live through the Sahasrara. Very rare. So here it says that bring the whole prana between the eyebrows. He goes to that supreme, infinite, resplendent Purusha, that supreme being. Then continuing, he says in the Yadaksharam Veda Vido Vadanti Vishanti Yadyattayo Vitaragaha Yadichanto Brahmacharyam Charanti Tatte Padam Sangrahena Pravakshe. So, okay, in the 11th verse he says, by saying all this, what Lord is doing? When we tell the children, how do we make them interested in whatever you have cooked? How do you make them interested? The planning begins from before. Mummy is going to make something very interesting, and we are going to do this, and we are going to do that, and it tastes so nice, and we are going to go there, or where the child is eating, and the landing. So you're creating interest in the mind of that child for the nourishment that is to be given to him, so that by taking that nourishment, he is healthy. Lord is doing exactly the same to us. He is whetting up our appetite so that we become nourished once and for all and don't seek any more nourishment thereafter. And once if you are appreciating all this, yes, I want to be there. The urge, the thirst to access that moment, to bring about whatever is required for that one moment. Lord, give me the courage, give me the intelligence, give me the grace, so that I am able to follow those instructions, at least one, and lose myself. Just like a person says, Lord, give me the grace that I can sleep, those who can't sleep. Isn't it? Give me that one chance. I merge into you. So here he says, Krishna says, that which the knowers of Vedas speak about as the imperishable, that which the striving seekers freed from attachment enter, that goal to gain which they live the lives of brahmacharya, that in brief I shall declare to you, O Arjuna. So now suddenly, to whet up the appetite, the curiosity, to make him desire it even more, because he was an educated person, Arjuna. So he is saying, the Vedas speak only about that. The seekers practice brahmacharya, control their energies only for that. The tapasvis do the tapasya only for that. I'll tell you that now. Till now it was all preparation, 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 preparation. That impression, the people practice vairagya, detachment, letting go for what? Only for that. And what is that? I'll tell you. And what is that? Here he says, Sarvadvarani sanyamya manorhidi nirudhya cha मूर्ध्याध्यायात्मनः प्राणम् आस्थितो योगधारणम् ओमित्येकाक्षरं ब्रह्म व्याहरन् मामनुस्मरन् यः प्रयाति त्यजन् देहं स याति परमां गतिम्. सर्वद्वाराणि संयम्य मनोहृदि निरुध्य च. How to do it now? He is telling. He is slowly bringing the climax now. And what is that? What is he saying? First he told, control all our energies, don't let them go anywhere. He said, desire yoga, that the yoga is bringing, desiring it so intensely, that infinite. Now he says, Sarvadvarani sanyamya. All the doors through which the leakage of energy takes place. What are the doors? All the organs of action and all the organs of perception. He says, be neutral to them. That is the only way you can control. You can close the eyes, you can stop moving the hands, you cannot stop moving the legs. Remain neutral to all of them. Maintain that disposition. That even if there is a disturbance, a ripple doesn't appear in your mind. That is sanyamya. Sarvadvarani sanyamya. So be detached, be aloof, be neutral to all the doorways through which the energy can leak out. Movement of the hand is not a problem. Getting identified and getting disturbed by the movement of hand is leakage of energy. Thinking is not a problem, but getting disturbed because of your own thinking is leakage of energy, because it's creating a thought about it. Hunger is not a problem, but becoming irritated because of hunger is the problem. See? Because how can we stop eyes from seeing? Let them see. You don't allow a thought to precipitate. Be like a mirror, reflecting everything, accepting everything. What is the second? Rejecting nothing. And the third one? Retaining nothing. This is your state. Sanyamya, Sarvadvarani sanyamya. Maintain that neutral state like the mirror. Accepting everything, rejecting nothing, but retaining nothing. Because the moment you retain, thought precipitation will take place. Memory will be created. Reaction will come about. Yeah, beautiful. Sarvadvarani manorhidi niruddhya cha. So here he says, controlling all sense organs, confining the mind in the heart, drawing the pranas, and then dhayatmana pranam. So, and bringing confining the mind in the heart, drawing the pranas in the head. So, bringing your life force to the top of your head. Heart, bringing, we are not talking about the physical heart. We are talking about the spiritual heart, where your mind is not caught up in any thought, but it is being the presence. Occupied in the practice of concentration, uttering. And how do you do that? That means your heart, according to the scriptures, the heart is the intellect, the seat of intellect, where your decisions are made, where the conviction is. And in that heart, in that intellect, with faith, having controlled all the energies, bringing the breath to the top of your head, focusing in the middle of your eyebrows, what do? Chant Om. Chant Om. Not Om, Om, Om. This has got nothing. Now see, the whole technology is given. That this is my last moment. Put everything into that one moment. That one moment, what you are doing? Chanting Om. That is your focus now. Because Om will take you to the Brahman. For that, faith is required. Conviction is required. Not mere mechanical repetition. All these ingredients, the condition of the mind was just now explained. With all this preparation, and it in a moment you can bring about this whole preparation. When I have to lift this table completely, or if I am doing something, or a painter is painting the painting, he brings all his energies in that moment where he doesn't want to make a decision how the brush is going to move, but it will move. He does it. She does it. Painter does it. Sculptor does it. Artist does it. Musician does it. You do it on a daily basis for that which is important, for what you consider to be important. But here the Lord has said, don't focus on the finite, don't focus on the perishable, contemplate on the imperishable. Bringing about all those faculties, bringing them together and applying all that energy in that one moment, focusing in the third, between the eyebrows, chanting Om. Uttering the one syllable Om, the Brahman, constantly remembering me, he who thus departs leaving the body, he attains the supreme goal. This is the science of dying. And that death which is being indicated here, you may take it two ways. One can be the actual physical death, or it can be recognition that death is a principle, it is happening every moment. Let me grab this moment and conclude everything forever. Do it few times, you see how the unfoldment will take place. But you have to do it, you have to practice, you have to apply. Merely collection of knowledge is not enough. Application is required. Studying of engineering and is not enough. Application of engineering in life is required. So in this way, so when the seeker on his seat of meditation makes these necessary adjustments that are being indicated in the last few verses and applies himself to the chanting of the Om in the manner that is told, he goes beyond the physical body, he goes beyond the body, breath, mind, intellect, physical body, gross body, subtle body, causal body. He goes beyond all of that, because Om takes you beyond all that. Om is Ma, we have told you before, gross body, subtle body, causal body, it continues into the fourth state. That fourth state is this. It is a stateless state, but because we are talking about the three states, so we say it is the fourth state. But it is no state, and yet it is all states. And in this way, making these 6 adjustments that were given in our practice, we can, and focusing it, the meditator comes to realize that which is seeking. And after this, no instruction is required by the seeker. Instruction is complete. Enough. Many times the Lord has said, I have told you, man, it's enough. Here again he is saying, it is enough. There is nothing more required. If you do this, it will happen. continuing in the 14th verse, he says, quickly we'll complete, only few verses left. Ananyacheta satatam yo mam Ananyacheta satatam yo mam smarati. Tune kya hai? Tatam yo mam smarati nityashah tasyaham sulabha partha nitya yuktasya yoginah. He who is a steadfast meditator, yogi, who remembers me constantly and daily with single pointed mind, to him I am readily available, O Parth. Whatever we think about, that becomes our reality. If we think about the divine, then it will become our reality. You have to apply. And in this way, then he says, Mamupetya punarjanma dukkhalayam ashashvatam napnuvanti mahatmanaha samsiddhim paramam gataha. In the 15th verse, the Lord says, having reached me, the great souled ones who have therein experienced the supreme state of perfection are never more subject to rebirth, which is a house of pain and finitude. Where there is finitude, there is joys and sorrows, likes and dislikes, hunger and thirst, honor and insult. You want to be free of all that. Look at your life. You will come to the same conclusion. Manipulation. You want to be free of all that. He says, then focus on me. And all realized masters have done that. They have focused on me in spite of the world. They are not focused on the world. What we do, we focus on the world in spite of the abundance of the grace. But great masters, they focus on the grace in spite of the world. This shift has to come about. For that, conviction is required. Conviction is not there. That's why we are still in the limbo. In the 16th verse he says, Brahma bhuvana lokaha punaravartinorjuna mamupetya tu kaunteya punarjanmana vidyate. He says, all worlds of experiences up to the world of the Creator are subject to return. But after reaching me, O son of Kunti, there is no rebirth. What is the Creator? Who is the Creator? Brahmaji. So all the states, Bhur, Bhuva, Swaha, Jana, Maha, Tapaha, Janaha, Satyam. Satyam is the Brahmalok. So till all the beings of these 7 lokas, they are subject to return. So how did Maharishi Vedyas remember the Puranas? What are Puranas about? All gods, isn't it? How did he remember? From previous, by focusing his attention on the previous cycle of creation. See? So, but if you focus on Om and understand that I have to reach not on some idea or concept or experience, then you will come to that. It will happen. And in this way, Sahasra Yuga Paryantam Aharyat Brahmano Viduhu Ratrim Yuga Sahasrantam Teho Ratra Vidu Janaha. So here he is explaining that for thousands of lives and all that. We are not going into that. Let's come to the 20th verse. Parastasmatu bhavonyo avyakto vyakta sanatanaha yasa sarveshu bhuteshu nashyatsu navinashyati. He says, but beyond this unmanifest, there is that other unmanifest, the existence, the eternal, that which is not destroyed at the destruction of all beings. So the entire manifest creation has come out of the unmanifest. Another name for unmanifest is, in Sanskrit word is avyakta. Another name for avyakta is maya. Another name for maya is ignorance. Another name for ignorance is self-forgetfulness. All these are synonymous. So where has the total creation, which is nothing but names and forms, where has it come out from? From unmanifest. At a personal level, what is that unmanifest? The causal state. What is the causal state? The deep sleep state, the unmanifest state, the empty state, the state of nothingness. Out of nothingness, everythingness has come. But who knows the nothingness? That there is nothing in the mind? That is the supreme unmanifest. So the matter of names and forms, the finite has come out of the matter called unmanifest. You can use another word for it, space. But from where has the space come from? The total space, where has it come from? It has come from the total conscious unmanifest, and that is the Supreme Self. Why the Supreme Conscious Unmanifest? Because it is formless and attributeless. This idea is presented, the Bhutakash, Chidakash and Chittakash and Chidakash. The total gross space has come out of the mental space. The total mental space is there only because the conscious space is there. So that thought is being presented here. And with this, again the focus is being brought back to the supreme reality, the conscious reality, the imperishableness of your being. Bring your attention to that imperishableness. Recognize. Don't get caught up in waking dream, deep sleep. Don't get caught up in the secondary personalities, father, mother, daughter, sister, etc., etc. In Panchadashi, this thought comes. The thought is that who are we? Am I the secondary self? Am I the illusory self? Or am I the absolute self? Secondary self is that self which defines itself on the basis of objects and beings that it interacts with. So I interact with you, I become the teacher, you become the student. I interact with her, she is my daughter, I am the father. I interact with weather. Oh, the weather today it is very hot, so I am the one feeling sweating. And this way I keep defining myself by different names. This is the secondary self. When we define ourselves on the basis of allowing some object or some being to dictate who we are. Second stage, coming back towards going within, is when the body dictates who we are. So when the body, breath, mind, intellect dictate, or we get identified with, then we call ourselves as the jiva, as the individual. This is called the mithyatma. First one is the Gaunatma, this is the mithyatma. This mithyatma also keeps coming, going. There is no permanence to it. But who are we essentially? We are the Mukhyatma. Mukhyatma is the witnessing self. Mukhyatma is the essential self. Mukhyatma is the imperishable self, because of whom these other two express. So here the teacher is bringing your attention again back to the imperishableness of your being. All our miseries come only because our attention is on the perishable, on the finite. And if at any moment something is troubling us, bring your attention back to the infinite principle, be that infinite principle. The stress, the strain, the tension, it will just dissolve away. And with this, the last two verses No, last few verses. Okay. अव्यक्तोऽक्षर इत्युक्तः तमाहु परमां गतिं यं प्राप्य न निवर्तन्ते तद्धाम परमं मम. Here the Lord says that what has been indicated as the unmanifest and imperishable has been declared as the goal supreme. This is my highest state, having attained which there is no return. Once you attain that, there is no return. Then he says, through wholehearted devotion to that Supreme Self, in whom all beings exist and by whom all this is pervaded, O Partha, the Parapurusha is attainable, the infinite being is attainable. But you have to contemplate on it. If I don't focus on you, then I will not come to your house. If I don't focus on someone, I will not make a call. First, I have to think about that person. So if I want the grace to flow, then I have to think about that person. Or who is that person? He is formless, he is all-inclusive, he is infinite, he is imperishable, he is, then how do I think about him? Oh, you think about him through Om. Where do I think about him? Between your eyebrows. How do I think about him? Bring all your energies together, close all your doors, focus all the life force in your head. Bring the breath to the head. So the whole technology is given. Whole technology is given. Purushasa parapartha bhaktya labhyastvananyaya yasyantasthani bhutani yena sarvamidam tatam. So that this reality is attainable, and then in the last verse it says, Vedeshu yajneshu tapassu chaiva daneshu yat punyaphalam pradishtam atyeti tat sarvamidam viditva yogi param sthanam upaiti chadyam. Here the Lord says that having known this supreme imperishable reality, Vedeshu yajneshu tapassu chaiva daneshu yat punya phalam pradishtam. All the fruits, whatever active action you do in life, whether you are studying, you are in a satsang here, this is an activity going on right now, it will give you a fruit. It will give you a merit. It will give you a result. That result could be conviction, it could be the result could be faith, its result could be a renewed commitment towards the truth. Something will be there, you don't know what it is. It could be a sense of peace, a sense of tranquility. So we can't decide what it, but it will give, every action gives a result. So what is the result? All the results of Veda, studying the Vedas, all the results of the yajnas, all the results of the fruits of the tapasya, the austerity, all the results which are accrued through charity, all yat punya phalam pradishtam, having come to know this imperishable reality, all the fruits are once and all accrued. Everything that we seek by sponsoring here, donating there, doing some tapasya, doing some sadhana, everything reaches its fulfillment in realization of that infinite reality, which is not other than the witnessing self here, who's expressing as the Atma. How beautiful. The yogi reaches them all and rises above them to reach the supreme primeval state. Whenever our attention is on some result, that result can only be in the intellect, in the mind. But where are we focusing on? The imperishable reality. That imperishable reality, that infinite reality is not at the level of our intellect or mind. It is beyond. Where are the results accrued? Yesterday, in Bali someone, again this question, Swamiji, you know, it is such a great blessing that you have come into my life. One Westerner, she had come with her, she said, oh, it's a great blessing. And I'm so happy to come to know you. I said, I'm also so happy that you came into my life. No, I must have done some good deeds in my past life. I must have done some merits. I said, no, we have not come into each other's life because of merits. We have come because of His grace. It's the reality, that one reality reminding itself through both of us that, hey, you are that, hey, you are that. See, it's a different take. If I remain focused on it's my good deeds, my good merits, then my focus is on my ego, that I have done good actions in my life that has brought about this situation in my life. But the whole world, the whole life, the whole cosmos has not come about because of me, my actions. It has come about due to His grace. Focus on the grace. Don't focus on your individual ability and capacity. And this is the idea that is presented in this chapter, which Arjuna wanted clarity on, that how do I focus on that infinite reality? What happens to a person? Does he reach that reality after death, or does he go into some gaga world after death? And now, after that, again the theme which was in the 7th chapter begins in the 9th chapter, which was that of knowledge. We'll see the overview of chapter 9 in our next class. Helpful?
Yes.
So, Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.